office. And, it's October 26th, so naturally we're talking baseball. And we're joined actually right now by, speaking of baseball, Aaron Sutton, the brand new baseball coach at MSU Billings. Aaron, welcome to the program. How's Billings treating you?
It's a great city. We've really enjoyed it so far. We've only been here for about a month, but haven't seen anything we don't like so far.
Well, you grew up in southwest Idaho and went to college in Oregon, and I'm wondering if I think a lot of people would be shocked that you could actually do baseball in October, or baseball at all, or softball in Montana. But Billings is a pretty good spot for it. Yeah,
we get that a lot. I think when people originally think Montana and they start talking about baseball, they're always concerned about the weather. But we get fantastic weather. It's 70 degrees today, and we're outside practicing, and hopefully that weather continues. And we're starting to try to start a tradition here that has been going pretty strong, and we're really excited about it.
Speaking of which, you had an interesting scrimmage on Sunday. Maybe tell your listeners about that. It was a little bit unusual.
Yeah, we had our first annual Halloween game, and we're starting to hopefully get this thing going year in and year out and try to get it out to the community. But our guys are dressed out in costumes. I know they're really creative, and they got out there and played just kind of backyard baseball and had a lot of fun. So.
And guys were moving around in different positions, so maybe that shortstop who always wanted to be a pitcher had his chance.
Yeah, our one rule was you can't play a position that you play in actual baseball, so it gave guys an opportunity to go out and have some fun.
So 70 degrees in October, but how do you get over it when you're recruiting? And you're just starting here, but in your mind, and you've been recruiting, I'm sure. Get over maybe the perception that if you come to play baseball in Montana, you're going to be playing in snow half the time.
A lot of times we have facts. We get 14 inches of rain per year here, so we give them the information. 300 days of sun is what everybody keeps telling me. So we just reiterate the fact that, hey, if you're serious about baseball, this is going to be a great program for you to come into. And, what I always say is if you look at Major League Baseball teams across the nation, there's not very many that are south of that middle border. So.
And in Montana, a lot is made at times of MSUB being the only D2 program, but you are the only four-year college baseball program in the state, and I wonder how that impacts your recruiting. Do you feel like you get lost up here sometimes, or does that actually give you something of an advantage?
Yeah, our number one goal is always to keep the best players in state, and our team right now has, I believe, 6 kids from the state of Montana on our roster. We're actively recruiting a lot of kids from Montana right now. There's good baseball in Montana, so our job is to keep those guys here at home, and it definitely is an advantage that we're the only four-year institution that offers baseball for these kids.
Talk about that. I mean, baseball, there isn't high school baseball here like there is in a lot of places, but obviously American Legion and some pretty good programs. Billings had a Little League team a few years ago that went all the way to the World Series and galvanized the entire state. Again, I don't think a lot of people would think of Montana as a baseball or a softball state, but talk about the caliber of player that you're able to reach out to.
No, they take baseball very seriously up here, and being at previous schools and recruiting, we've always identified Montana as a state that has good talent. A lot of our best players in history have been from Montana, so I know each city does a great job. Although it's just American Legion baseball, they take a lot of pride in it, and you can just see it in the facilities that these guys get to use and the product that they're putting out there year in and year out. I know the Legion teams that go to the regional tournament are always highly competitive with the rest of the Northwest.
Are there communities in Montana that are particularly fertile? I would imagine Billings because of the weather here and the high schools and the caliber of the Legion programs, but do you see other places that are particularly baseball savvy?
I think when you think of baseball, you think of Billings in Montana, but I think, just over the past years, Bozeman's had a couple good runs at it. Missoula's always highly competitive. It just kind of rotates, year to year when they have those good groups come through. But what I've noticed is Billings year in and year out has highly competitive teams with the Scarlets and the Royals.
Okay, Aaron, so you're coming in here, your first year, taking over for Rob Bishop, who was here, who resurrected the program, or started the program over 6 years, had some real success. As you come in, it's like you've accepted the job. It's your first day. What do?
Try to get my feet underneath me. Things happen so, late, and just the process of everything, getting out here, rushing out here, just trying to get our guys together and meet with those guys. And Coach Bishop did a great job. He left the program in very good standing, and, we returned a lot of really good players. So I wanted to get with the upperclassmen right off the bat. And, hey, what'd you guys like? What worked? What do we need to work on? And get their input so that they're a part of it right away.
What was appealing to you about this job? You came from Treasure Valley Community College in Ontario, Oregon, on the far eastern part of the state, the Oregon-Idaho border, not far from where you grew up in southwest Idaho, and also terrific place for baseball and weather. But what was it that drew you to this job here, and what was your sales pitch?
I think what really drew me is that I'm a guy that likes challenges, and we've obviously had success at my previous school, and my family and I were ready for the next challenge in our lives. And coming out here and seeing things and getting a chance to meet Krista and the whole athletic department staff, it just felt like a very welcoming place and an institution that was really driven to have success. So I got really excited about that, and really trying to sell them that I'm the right guy for the program was just the success I had previously, and that we're not just developing baseball players, we're developing kids off the field as well. Classroom stuff's our number one priority. We have a great group of students. Coming into it, our guys had a 3.2 GPA last year. They were, GNAC academic champions the last 3 seasons. So those things to me that I saw and what I do with my program, like they matched up really well, and I thought it would be a pretty seamless transfer coming over.
How would you describe your coaching style?
We're intense. I think, coming into our program, you've got to know you're going to be held accountable for everything that you do every single day. You're going to get coached up, and we're about development. We got guys coming in that are good baseball players, but in order for us to reach our goals, we have to have kids that are coachable because we're going to coach them up every day, and we have a plan in place for those guys over the course of their careers for us, and so far so good. We've had 6 weeks of fall baseball, and we've come from here to here, I think, as a group, but we still have probably twice as far to go, but we're getting there baby steps at a time.
And fall baseball, when you're going through fall baseball, is there a sense of importance to it? Does it feel like the real season is far away? What do you try to accomplish?
Well, coming in as a first-year guy, we really had a lot of things to implement as far as the way we approach the game, obviously the ins and outs of baseball. But fall is really a big evaluation time. We stop team practice. Actually, tomorrow's our last team practice, and then we're limited to 2 hours per week with these guys. So we start up our games third week of February. So when we get back in January, we only got about 6 weeks before our first game. So this fall season is really important for us to be able to evaluate the guys that we feel like are ready to go out and compete come springtime, because obviously being limited to be outdoors in January and February, these guys got to show us what they got right out the gates.
If you have an ideal Aaron Sutton team in place, what would that look like? And obviously lights out pitching everybody would love to have, but is there a particular type of game you prefer? Long ball, a lot of pressure on the base paths type ball? What would you say it is?
Our big motto is you either feel pressure or you apply pressure, and we want to be the team applying pressure. So we're good on all facets. We want to be good with our short game. We're going to try to steal a lot of bases, and we've got the roster to do that this year. And then we value doubles. I think home runs come and go, but doubles are a big thing that we kind of hang our hat on as far as an offensive approach goes. From a defensive approach, we want tough kids. I think if you come out and you watch our teams play, we all wear our pants up. We don't wear fighting sleeves or Evo Shield guards. We're kind of an old school mentality, and hopefully our guys are wearing balls off the chest and making plays and diving all over the park.
Now, generally speaking, this was true for years in Division I for sure, but the southern schools always had a little bit of an advantage because of the weather, whether it was Arizona, California, places like that. And then we saw a few years back, you went to Western Oregon, and 20 miles down the road, Oregon State, with a terrific coach there named Pat Casey, who won back-to-back NCAA championships, a northern tier program, which I think was really stunning to a lot of people. Did, I think, with some great pitching and some great field players. But what do you think for the more northern schools is the key to being able to compete with schools that maybe are able to play a little bit longer?
I think there's definitely something to be said about teams that can get out on the field, all year round. But also, I think if you're doing that year round, it kind of can become mundane for players. So in the Northwest, and with the advancements in facilities, we have great facilities here at Billings. We're able to really work on the fundamentals of baseball when we're indoors, and do some things that I think get our guys fired up, really focus on their development, so that when we get outside, they got that fire, like they're ready to roll when we get outside. They're excited about being out there. It's not something that they're doing year round.
What do you know about this team in the short time you've had to be with them this fall and summer?
They're a really close group. I think we've got outstanding leadership from our upperclassmen. You got Cody Cooper, Adam Cox is back. Those guys do an outstanding job of leading these young kids, and they're very driven. We've thrown a lot of stuff at these guys. I think some days we've probably turned them upside down and shook them around a little bit, but they keep responding, and they want more each and every day that we go out there.
Now, if you've been here 6 years like Rob Bishop was, you know what the landscape is like in the GNAC, and you're just getting started. You've been in the region, but do you have a sense of what you're up against and what it's going to take for you guys to compete at the highest level in the league?
Just looking at the GNAC the last 3 or 4 years, it's been highly competitive. I think it's come down to the last week of baseball, year in and year out, with NNU, Western Oregon, Central Washington. So everything's been pretty tight. So I think it's going to be important for us to come out and start off well when league play comes. We've got 40 league games. All of them matter because you don't know which one's going to be the league title game that maybe you threw away back in March. So the way that the GNAC has worked, I think it's highly competitive. There's some good coaches in there. Actually, Coach Walker, his first year at Western Oregon was my senior year when he was an assistant coach, so we know each other really well. And I'm excited to get out there and start competing against some of these guys because we've been sending guys from Treasure Valley to the GNAC the 9 years I was at Treasure Valley, and now I get to compete in this conference. So I think I have a pretty good feel of what it takes to win here.
Do you have a sense from this team of what the strengths are and where those areas of improvement lie at this point going into the spring?
I think we're going to hit. I think that's one thing that coming out of the fall, we're going to have a lineup 1 through 9 that can hit, and that can hit with some juice. I mean, I think it's pretty fun to come out and watch our guys take batting practice. Pitching, is something that we've got to really focus on, and we've got a good plan for these guys through the winter to really reach our goals as far as the pitching staff goes. But from an offensive standpoint, I've got an outstanding group of coaches, Coach Kruckenberg and Coach Wright. Coach Wright does all of our hitting, and that guy knows how to teach it up, and our guys are really grasping onto all of his concepts.
All right, Aaron Sutton, first-year baseball coach at MSU Billings. Welcome to Billings. We wish you luck this spring, and we'll be watching you when you guys tee it up.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks. When we come back, we'll be talking to Jess Raymond, another first-year coach here at MSU Billings of the softball program. They're out there this fall, too. You're listening to Billings Sports Talk on KBLG.